Welcome
Welcome
to
to
Shade and the City.
Shady.
I'm your girl Treese.
It's Nels.
And today, y'all, we are here to do our recap of the love and the marriage that happens in Huntsville. It's no longer the number one city because that's Waldorf, Maryland. But, it's in Huntsville. This is season 8, episode 11. Nell-raiser. Nell-raiser is the name of this episode. So yeah, y'all, all the returning Shade Squad and new viewers, if you don't know what to do, please make sure y'all hit that like button as you're coming in.
And that subscribe button.
And y'all, let's jump right into it. You know what? I really enjoyed this episode. I just want to say this. And I actually teared up a bit because it's the water sign. I mean, what can I say? But anyway, let's get into it.
Waterworks.
Shut up. Let's be shady. All right, y'all. So we open up this episode. Nell's kids, so basically we're picking up where we left off. Nell's kids are trying to explain to her that therapy might be beneficial for her. You know what I'm saying? Because she seemed like she got a lot of pent up anger. And Lance suggests that, it might give her more tools to manage better. And Lord, why did he say that? Because Nell said she just needs boundaries to be set and everyone to take care of themselves and more money to be in her account. That's what I got from that. All right. And then yeah, she ain't really trying to hear it, but they basically changed it to, well, a counseling session versus therapy. And I think that kind of,
Also, I think initially they were talking about her doing one-on-one with Dr. Francis, and when they changed it into a counseling session, basically, and making it like it's a group thing, I think they made a little bit better about it.
Yeah.
So then
I'm so mad I didn't get this scene because I loved it. Shout out to Marceau for this one. I loved this scene. I did. I said, you know what? You all right with me, Mr. Scott. You've been good with me for a while these last couple seasons, but this scene sealed the deal, my brother.
I was pretty impressed. So Marques, we know who this is. This is the soon-to-be ex-husband of Trish.
Is it Marques or Marquez? Because I thought it was Marquez.
I think it's Marques.
Oh, whatever.
It's an M.
Right.
So Marques met up with Marceau at Black. Apparently there was a situation where him and Ken got into it at his establishment. He wanted to apologize for that, and Marceau didn't even know that it had anything to do with him. I didn't even know that was you. Okay. But he said that him and Trish are legally separated, but not legally divorced. They got married when they was 18. And basically he knew he wasn't there for her for real, when her parents passed. He said emotionally. He said he was there physically, but it didn't sound like he was even there physically for real.
Question. So my thing was, what irritated me is I can applaud the brother knowing where he might being able to identify, because we all about doing the work over here, taking accountability. Okay. So I can appreciate him saying I wasn't there for her emotionally. However, for him to sit up in this stance and not being able to take accountability and have Marceau read him down like he did this scene, you still have a lot more.
He's clearly immature.
You have a lot more work to do, brother.
He's super, and that is why Trish will never go back.
Right.
Okay. Now he said that he's never had that happen in his family, so he didn't really know how to empathize with her. He said that he loved her, but maybe he don't know if he was really in love with her. It sounded like they grew apart. They grew out of love, especially since they married when he was 18. Now he said during the vid, he wasn't sure if, he even wanted to be with her anymore. And he feels like he moved to Atlanta to escape the situation and, how he was feeling about Ken having to deal with, Ken being in the same household with his kids. Marceau,
To your point, hold on, before you go any deeper.
One.
When he says he didn't know, because I didn't catch that part, he didn't know if he was in love with her, and you were saying that you think that they grew apart. I think that at 18, just based off
Personal experience.
hard. Yeah, personal experience is you don't really know at that age. You think you might know.
You feel like you're in love.
Right, it's puppy love. So I can understand him saying if maybe he's had another relationship that we don't know about, because that was one of the things that I questioned. Well, what have you been doing in Atlanta? And what is your situation? And so it did make me think about, like, maybe he has met somebody, and now he understands what love really is, for him to know that wasn't it. So
I think even just because you're young doesn't mean that you weren't in love. It's just on a different level. It's a different level, a different type, different age. It's just different. It's just magnified. So I don't think at 18, just because they were 18, I don't mean that they were in love. It's different now. Now this is just grown people love. That was just
okay. You better tell it, grown people love.
That's just puppy love.
And everybody know grown people love is harder because that come with stuff.
Exactly. It's easy to be in love at 18.
Puppy love, you're right.
So Marceau said, basically, okay, so what you're saying is you couldn't handle him being a father. Your kids, okay? Which basically, and let him know, because he was like, well, I mean, what do you consider a father? He said, I mean, someone that takes him to school, takes him to dance, and acts as a father in that capacity. Basically, all the things you weren't doing because you was out in Atlanta, okay? Then tells him, that, so then he starts blaming Trish for erasing 6 years of him being a father within a matter of a year and a half. Marceau told him, sir, you did that when you left.
Right.
Okay, when you leave your wife and your household, that's what happens. You can't do it for 6 years and then don't. He said fatherhood is earned. I said, oh, Marceau, we need to pass the collection plate.
Pass the collection plate.
Okay. Then this man said he feels like Ken is a rebound who was waiting for his opportunity to pounce. Okay. And thinks Tricia's still in love with him. Boy, she don't want nothing to do with your little young-minded ass.
And it's so funny to me. That's how he hasn't moved on, because at the end of the day,
I think he's just now starting to your point. Whatever he's doing in Atlanta is the only reason why he came back up here to go to the courthouse.
Right.
That's it.
Because but even still moved on as far as like, because to me, I think that those things, if y'all have been separated this long, and if that was what really happened, at this point, it does not matter. What you want is a relationship with your child. So how Ken came into the picture, when he came into the picture, should not matter. The subject should be the relationship with your kids. But
so he said that basically her and Ken had been talking 5 years prior to them breaking up. Now he's blaming Ken because he lives in a household with his daughter, and basically I guess a little girl is telling him that, she hates him and he messed up the family. They had a perfect household. Marceau said, well, is she wrong? I said, oh, Marceau. Oh, my goodness. Did we getting a Marceau therapy session right now?
I loved it. It.
Marques said, well, she's a child. She had to get that from her mama.
No.
Marceau was like, no.
She's a 10-year-old.
She got it from her dad. He said, didn't you raise her to be intelligent, well-spoken, and an amazing young woman? Why would you feel that she's incapable of expressing how she feels? I said, Marceau. Okay, now he said, because basically he said that what's the boy name? Marques said, well, because I didn't, leave her, I left the situation. Okay, and talk to them every day, but I don't get to see them as much because I moved away. Marceau said, well, that's what we call leaving. Okay, and that's the reason for the animosity. You moved away, sir. Yes, you left. Okay, and then Marques told him that he's gonna always want to be, basically he's always gonna be her dad. And he don't want Ken to play the father role, basically, and said when this girl has a hard day at school, He wants Ken to tell his daughter, call your
To
dad.
call him.
Marcel said, yeah, that's not the type of man that you want around your child. Like you sound like it. You sound crazy saying that. Okay.
Ignorant. It sound ignorant.
I couldn't even believe I couldn't even believe, he said that. But basically,
But that's how
and then he told him, and basically he told him, and that's why, sir, you don't leave. And I think Marcel was not saying like don't leave the relationship, but it was you that packed up and moved all the way to Atlanta. Mm-hmm. You still could have stayed local where you could see your child and pick them up and take them to school or dance or whatever.
Marcel, well, he said he was around, but he said it was too much for him to stay in Huntsville to watch Ken step in and do all of those things.
So that was more important.
And what's so crazy because and later on, Tricia says it in the episode, but this man, I guess when her parents passed away, like she said, he wasn't there emotionally. She admits that. But she said, I'm sure she was mourning. So I'm sure there were days where she didn't want to get out of bed. I'm sure there were times where it was just hard for her to even cope and you're still a mom. And unfortunately, kids don't cut off just because you're not in the best mood or you're going through something.
Kids, life, he out hanging out with his homeboys.
And that's when I think that's what it really was for her, is he didn't pick up even any of the
slack. Her parents and her sister.
Right. I think the fact that he didn't pick up any of the slack with his own children when he saw she was going through something, I know as a woman that would be very unattractive to me, and that would have been the nail in the coffin.
Yeah. So Marcel told him he wants to take accountability for leaving, but not the consequences. Now, Marcel does agree that, him and Ken need to have a conversation, but he also told him that he needs to have a conversation with his baby girl and apologize because anything that he allowed to get in between their relationship is clearly more important than your kids.
Woo.
Now,
Marcel with a word.
Right? He told him also.
I hope the plate is full. Is there one? Come to the front.
He also told him he may not recognize it, but he picked up where you left off. Look, I had to get these little bombs he was dropping. I said, goodness. No,
when I tell you, that's why I said this was a good episode. I was sitting up there like this. I was like, you better tell him.
So then he also told him, when you do sit down and talk to him, the first thing you should say is thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. If you want to co-parent, you got to acknowledge that this guy has picked up a lot of the slack. And he named it. He gave the son a car. He's taking him out the country. He's playing he is the father.
And look, he was like, "Is he paying bills?" And he was like, he tried to play.
I don't know what's going on.
Look, he said, "I'm sure he is."
Exactly.
I'm sure he is.
And then basically this dumbass has the nerve to say, well, he ain't got no choice but to pick up the slack because if he loved her, he got to love the children. Marcel said no, he could leave just like you did. I said, and then he explains how he goes in depth on how to have a conversation with him and basically told him, let some of that pride go, sir.
Right.
You ain't got no reason for it. I said, ooh, Marcel. Yes. He came through with a word this episode.
He did. And I'm glad he ain't hold no punches, no smoke.
Listen, I ain't gonna lie. Look, if I was Tisha, I'd be like, whew.
Oh, baby, that was so sexy.
Yes. But let's go upstairs real quick.
Right. All right, y'all. So then we move on to Nell and Mel. They sit down and catch up. Nell tells her about the kids coming over and how she felt like they, and how she was supposed to be setting boundaries. And then she felt like they hit her with a missy and they flipped it and reversed it and said, "See, I'm coming up this point." Yeah. And they did that. And so, she said her feelings were hurt and she doesn't think she needs any counseling. She says she just needs her money. Okay. J.G. Whitworth. 877. Now she thinks she knows how to care for herself and just needs to stop caring for everybody else. Okay. Mel says that her emotional thermometer does run a little bit high. And Nell admits that, she basically couldn't even pass her physical because her blood pressure is too high. And so Mel is like, see, that's what we're not supposed to be doing, is you letting people putting you in an early grave while they sitting up here, crip walking on your joint because, living their best life because they healthy, they ain't had stress. Okay. So, Mel is continuing to encourage her to do the therapy and thinks that, basically it's an age generational thing, which I think I can agree with her.
Mhm.
Somebody of Nell's age, therapy is probably just go to church. You know what I'm saying? So, and even if you go sit down with your pastor and
They can counsel you also.
right, I think that they can counsel you also. So I don't think there's any, but I do know that, especially like down south and type of mentality, and it really is kind of more of a generational thing where it's not as accepted. So, or it's kind of frowned upon. It's more to make it look like you look crazy if you're
Mhm.
going to therapy versus I'm just going to sit and talk to somebody. Because I love when, and I don't know who's one of her kids said it. You don't have to go just because you're going to therapy doesn't mean something's wrong. You're working on yourself so that when something does go wrong, you know how to manage it. And I think
Mhm.
that's what's important for people to realize. It doesn't mean anything has to be wrong with you.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, Nell says she gonna go. She gonna see how she feels. So
Uh, so, the kids came
welcome
over.
back. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Dr. Francis,
I, I,
yes,
I was about to
yes.
say.
I love Dr. Francis. Welcome back, sir.
So the kids came over to the Fletchers for their group counseling session with Dr. Fletcher. I'm Dr. Francis, Jesus Christ, Dr. Francis. So Dr. Francis got there. Nell let him know basically she was trying to set boundaries and it ain't been working for her. Okay, so Dr. Francis asked the kids if the boundaries are realistic. Everybody agreed that they were, including Chris. So he asked them, what's the difference between your dad and your mom listening? Lance basically said that my daddy let us get out whatever the hell we want to say. Okay. When mom really just listens to rebuttal. Okay. Um, so basically he said, when that happens, it makes him shut down. When he gets interrupted, it makes him want to shut down. Now at that point, Nell interrupted him. Okay. Apparently as she usually does. And and she was like, oh well, basically normally I'm interrupting you to tell you that I told you so. This is something that I already told you. And Dr. Prince was looking like clearly this is what the boy is talking about. Now
Right.
she said
But
regardless,
I love how he handled it because
he did.
I was worried, but I think that he immediately saw her personality.
Especially when she said, oh, y'all the ones, I told you y'all are the ones that need it. Look, he just looked at her and I was just like, because
But I think that he handled her. I think he handled her with care and didn't
yes.
make her. I feel like we see a lot of shows or when they go to therapy or sometimes people are so defensive and then when the Tiffany's a perfect example. He
Mm-hmm.
saw what type of person Tiffany was. He didn't care. He just went in.
Mm-hmm.
And it made her super, super defensive
Mm-hmm.
to open up to him at all. So I think maybe even Dr. Francis, because I think Nell is very similar, where she was like, I'm not really, I feel like I'm good. And Dr. Francis is like, all right, let me handle her with a little
But
bit.
I also think they're from the same generation, and he understands why she feels the way she feels.
Okay.
So now, basically, she said, regardless to who they call, whether it's the mama or the daddy, at the end of the day, I'm the one that got to make the decision on who I'm gonna help or if I'm gonna help, what I'm gonna do monetarily. Okay. So Dr. Francis, gave them the floor. Okay, Dr. Francis gave them the floor to have their own conversation. Okay. And basically she did exactly what the son was saying. She completely interrupted him. And he understands that the kids basically come to Chris because they don't want to have to deal with Nell's wrath. Now, Dr. Francis explained that, um, he has 3 kids. They go to the mom, you know what I mean? But he was like, me and her, we communicate. Okay. So they don't necessarily need to come to me if they're going to her. And all Nell heard was, oh, so my kids can skip over me and go to Chris.
Mm-hmm.
Lance is like, what did you hear anything that this man said? Then Nell told them, see, this is why y'all the ones that need therapy. I ain't the one that need it. Well, go on, get your help. Get your I was like, oh
And
my
then she's trying to
God.
imitate now.
I was like, oh my God. So Dr. Francis told
Nobody really can get a word in with her though.
No.
But Nell reminds me of like, and I don't want to say this because she's not, obviously, you know, God rest my grandmother's soul. She's not that old, but she gives me that type of Southern type of like, you, I guess when you're younger or when you're the child, you don't have an opinion. You don't have a word. You just sit and listen.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what it gives.
Look, we was raised in that. So yeah.
Right.
So Dr. Francis told her she has the capacity to listen when she wants to. Nell wanted to discuss the money, and Dr. Francis wanted to discuss how the kids shut down when they go to her. So her daughter said, you know, it makes the communication feel like it's dead at that point. And her and Chris agreed that, you know, the tough love is not working. Dr. Francis said, as much noise as Nell makes, she's very delicate on the inside, which is why she's trying to hide the fact that she's delicate with all this noise. Okay. And then had her give them a sentence or two about something that she loves and admires about them. Now, she told Kiki that she loves her like she's her own. She told Lance that she's proud of him and all his accomplishments.
I cried during this part.
I did too.
Say, it's not just. I was sitting at the computer.
I wasn't doing all that, but when she got to Lance, when she got to Lance and then Kayla, I did too. She said she's doing her best to listen to him more. She told Kayla that she hears her even when she gets off the phone silently. So I'm guessing Kayla is not she doesn't get combative back with her mom. She just kind of, you know, she said the conversation is dead. So I guess that's what happens. And she told Chris Jr. that, you know, she's proud of him and knows that he has a bright future, but she needs him to come back up and, you know, get up out his funk, and basically she'll be there to help him. So Dr. Francis told her to continue to fertilize her children with love, because putting them down and cursing them out is not going to help. I said, oh my goodness, we just getting therapy all around her.
All I'm going to say is what I got from this scene, not only like Nell's wrapped it up beautifully, because that's literally how I ended mine. I think that, now, granted, I battle with it because I'm in this gentle parenting stage, but I don't have a 17-year-old or a 20-year-old, and that gentle parenting might go out the window. I can understand how it would. But I love what Dr. Francis said. Like, if you put love into it, that's all you can do, right? Because being tough to them or putting up a wall and making them not come to you only makes them defensive and so I know she thinks she's doing the wrong thing, but I'm happy that he gave her that little nugget. And I even love when she received it and said, I got it. Yeah. Now, I hope she really got it, but I hope she really really received what he said. But Carlos, I don't know if you saw what I saw, sir. You were smart. You would give the Fletchers a spinoff, but that's just me. I don't know. Y'all drop down in the comments. Tell me if you disagree. But even from the first family scene with Lexi and that dynamic, I would love to see them continue to go to therapy and work out. And I would like to know more about the kids. I think Carlos could possibly have another. I would be interested. I would watch it, honestly. But maybe because I like Nell and Chris. All right, y'all. So we go into Tricia, the dun 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 dun. So Tricia meets up with Marques with the M. Another M, to talk about a divorce. And, you know, he admits that they haven't really spoken since he left their home. He makes it clear that he doesn't have respect for Ken, and he's been waiting for his opportunity, you know, to really talk to him and address her. Tricia says that, you know, when she was going through her grief, I think I prefaced this earlier in the recap, that basically he wasn't there. And he admits that he wasn't there like he should have been. So Tricia says that, you know, they grew apart, and insinuates that her and Kim, then he goes to insinuate that her and Kim were messing prior to them separating, is what I got from the conversation. Because I guess to deal with her grief or try to manage, maybe one of her coping mechanisms was working out and going to the gym. And as we know, Ken was at the gym, and then apparently it's something about posting chocolate, or she liked chocolate now.
Yeah, and he was posting, and I know he was posting chocolate emojis under her picture.
Well, you know, and basically he blames Ken for his daughter not talking to him and calling Ken her daddy. He implies that they're still married, and Tricia makes it clear that that's just on paper, sweetheart. The ink just ain't dried up yet. But first of all, this is what I wanted. Tricia, you got to draw the papers. There has to be signatures for the ink to be dried. Now, before I saw the episode, I would have said, I think I said, Tricia, that ain't a bad looking man. I understand why you ain't trying to, but actually after he opened his mouth, I see why you want to divorce him. I absolutely understand, baby girl. But it's up to you and him, somebody. But if you want the divorce, draw some papers so you can put
only you can dissolve this marriage.
Right. You got to draw up the paper so they can put some ink on it. Okay. I'll buy you a special pen. That's all I'm saying. A special pen. But anyway, so he said that this is what he's always feared, another man coming in and raising his kids. But you let that happen. I get frustrated listening to him because I can't stand men that see it happening and they don't do, because no woman is this takes time. This takes time. This is built up. So that when she probably was at an emotional place where she might have taken you back and this might have been a thing, you were doing whatever you were doing. You were more concerned with that. And let another man.
Really, it's not like he was the one that stepped out. But you know what was dope about her in this moment?
What?
Let's not get it twisted. She has said it before. But when he tried to insinuate that she was messing with Ken before the marriage was over, she did not take that moment to be like, sir, we know what you was doing. You was out here in these streets. Okay, giving away what was supposed to be mine. Okay.
Well, I mean, I guess we could say that. I don't know. I didn't, that's allegedly. I don't know if that's what he was doing. I mean, that's probably what he was doing. Allegedly. So he wants to have a man-to-man, heart-to-heart conversation with Ken. And he tells Tricia, he wants them to co-parent better. And he says him and Ken, in order for them to do that, him and Ken need to talk. And he says they can get the divorce and asks if she's going to pay for half of the filing fees, which Tricia agrees reluctantly.
She said Ken gonna pay it anyway.
It's just, if you really want, again, I understand he's easy on the eyes, but if you really wanted a divorce, I think that's good.
He gets dumb. He's
it's just when he opened his mouth, I can understand why she's not stimulated in any way. If he
they grew apart, he just didn't grow up.
Woo! Now that's a word for y'all. Y'all better make sure y'all hit that collection plate. I know it ain't live, it ain't no super chat or nothing like that, but y'all better join the membership or something. Send it to the Cashapp. Nell gave y'all a word this Sunday, okay? All right, y'all. But thank y'all so much for tuning in to our recap of the love and the marriage in the Huntsville. If you haven't already, please make sure that you hit that like button.
Make sure you comment.
Make sure you subscribed.
And hit the notification bell.
And make sure you're following us on all the platforms, the TikTok, the Twitter, the Facebook, and the IG. And yeah, y'all, we will catch you next week for another. Well, actually, we might be a little bit late because we got a little trip down to the country ourselves. But we will catch y'all, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. But no, we'll catch you next week with the recap of the love and the marriage in Huntsville. Y'all have a good night and a blessed week. Bye-bye.